What is up, guys, and welcome back to this channel. Today we're checking out another game here where we have Hausa up against the Germans. In this game we're checking out EwoEwo. Now he's a really great Hausa player as well, and we're gonna see what kind of strategy he can utilize against Germany here. And he's up against the TheBlackPearl. So we can see he actually starts the classic start, the granary. Meanwhile we see Germany going up with a market shop and actually gathering some coin. I bet he will actually trade some coin here to either get a faster HAP or to get some wood here. Meanwhile we can see EwoEwo putting all units here on food, and yeah, it's just a pretty classic start from here. Now on this map there's actually some really good natives. We have the Berbers, of course, where you can get the Berber nomads. Now these guys are actually really good with a 30% or is it 33, I think, even 33% gather bonus on natural resources, as well as the Berber camel, which is like a goon type unit, but that attacks with melee damage. And we also have the Sudanese here with the Dervish, and of course the infamous Center Horseman. Now, the Berbers isn't that useful to have for Hausa, because Hausa can always just age up with the Berbers and get the units anyway, so and they will actually have to pay with the influence here, so they can't really utilize building from both the HAP and the native post anyways. But we'll see. It will be interesting if he actually decides to go for it, but I doubt it. So we see here EwoEwo taking a treasure here. It's a wood treasure. It's gonna be quite nice. Actually gonna he has actually 71 wood stacked up right now, and he actually has enough to build a house. So he could actually decide to just build okay, he's actually just built the house. Okay, so there's not really that much use of this 100 wood at the moment, because I bet he's already done the upgrade for the faster gathering here. So I think we're not gonna see him use that as of right now. Meanwhile, he's interested in this here, this treasure right here. It's actually pretty good, 2 Cebu cattle. Now that's really good for Hausa. And I think this treasure is also really good, like 96 XP. But we have here the TheBlackPearl probably sees, yeah, that EwoEwo is going for this treasure, and it's quite dangerous deciding to go for the treasure when the other explorer is this close. And I wonder if he's gonna see, if we're gonna see here the TheBlackPearl just swooping in and taking treasure. I think he needs to go in right now. I would probably go in right now, try to even get the last shot, but yeah. And there he goes, and he actually gets treasure. So that's just really unfortunate. And we see here EwoEwo's explorer is just really low, so he can't really take this fight either, which is a bit unfortunate. Meanwhile, we see the HAP here in queue. He's aging up with the Songhai, so that's the gold HAP, which also enables the Songhai dispatch to get some raiders, as well as gives a wagon that can build a war camp. So that tells me that he probably wants to do some aggression H2. Now you can use that HAP to get the gold for aging up to Fortress Age, but it isn't as useful. In many cases when you do a fast fortress with Hausa, you tend to go for the XP HAP instead. Meanwhile, we can see here EwoEwo just waiting, probably trying to get some health up to be able to go for this treasure, which is just really nice. And he does have the next shipment in quite early, so he could actually get a really good timing with the Hausa Kingdom. Now looking at the deck here, we see quite a standard deck. He decided to have the Crossing Festival in here, which gives the cattle. I don't think I've ever really seen this card being utilized, but I don't know, maybe we'll see it being used. He also have the Roomfast Riders. Now this card used to be really good. I think now it's quite decent, but yeah, it's pretty expensive. 500 influence and you get 4 Lefidi Knights. And for 500 influence you might as well just send the Sudanese allies, in my opinion, but I guess it depends on what you're up against. And as we said, now we see him sending the Hausa Kingdom. He's trying to time it so we get it right after the HAP, which is just really nice. And meanwhile he's trying to get that XP treasure. So yeah, look at the German player. He actually decided to go for the trading post here with the Berber. So I wonder if he wants to build the camels, or if he just wants to double down on the villagers here. can see him sending of course, the 3 settler wagons. Now, why wouldn't you send this card? 6 villagers and 2 Ulans in one ship, and that's just insane. Too good not to send. And his deck is fairly standard, and he does have quite a few units here in H2, so he could definitely stay in H2 if he wanted to. And he's actually gathering a lot of gold, even more people on gold than food at the moment. So I wonder if he's gonna try to do some mercenaries, maybe even. Getting that steel traps and the Praetor mine. So he's going quite eco heavy. Meanwhile, we can see here EwoEwo going for the trade post as well, probably to get that trickle that you do get from the trading post. And yeah, he's plopped down the university here, which is quite nice in the range of both the trading post and the town center to give that really nice influence boost. And if you take a look now, it's 0.85. As well as this trading post, which is gathering 0.35 by itself. Now you can get this take, getting 2 Red Sea wagons can be quite nice for just getting the TP line here, but I doubt we'll see it. It's quite expensive for Hausa considering it costs influence. And now we can see the Palace of Amina being sent. So this sends a Palace wagon builder and 300 influence, which is really nice because this palace is gonna be in the range of this university, helping out to get more influence. And this is just perfect. He has the Javelin Riders in the perfect spot to counter those Ulans, and that was just really fortunate for EwoEwo here. And I think this early in the game, getting those 2 Ulans down is just really nice, and he's training those Berbers because he didn't go with the HF with the Berbers. He needs to train them from the native TP, or he needs to get the native TP to enable them, and that's just really nice. And his economy right now is quite gold focused actually, and it looks like he's actually going for the HF. He's just queuing a single raider, probably just to be able to make a full batch in case anything comes, but there isn't much pressure here from TheBlackPearl, so yeah, he will probably just go smooth sailing into a fast fortress. Meanwhile, we can see here the German player is actually stocking up a lot of gold here, even too much gold, and he's realized this and moved over all the villagers here to food. And he's actually even gathering from the berry bushes, which is quite suboptimal. Now it's only 0.67 compared to 1.09, so it's a huge difference actually gathering from the berries. You don't really want to do that at all. And now we can see a fight breaking out here, and we got some Berber camels here from the German player, and these Berber camels are pretty insane. You can see they just melt anything that Hausa has at this moment, and these units are actually really tanky. Like 300 HP is pretty huge for a H2 unit, and they're actually quite affordable, as you can see as well. I wonder how they compare to a Ulan. So you see Ulan costs 150 resources, and this is a bit more expensive, but they're also a lot better stats. So yeah, it's just quite a good unit, and with 2 times the multiplier against heavy cavalry at that. Meanwhile, we can see here EwoEwo is actually putting up some walls. It's going quite defensive with the palace here, and I bet we'll see him H up right about now. Yes, there we go. So he's going with the Akan H up, getting those Akan units to be able to put on some pressure once he H's up. And he's actually built some Fulani archers as well as some raiders, and he's trading a few more Fulani archers right now. Now it looks like he only got 2 Berber nomads. I wonder if he wants to use maybe the influence to send the Akan. Yes, and there we go. He sent the Akan, so he probably saved up. He could afford another Berber nomad though, so would be interested in that. Meanwhile, we can see the German players just massing up a lot of these Berber camel riders right now, and EwoEwo doesn't really have a good counter to them because they do counter the raiders, and they're actually quite good against the archers as well because of their high HP and their pretty decent melee attack of 22. So you really need quite the mass of Fulani to start picking these guys off. And now the HUP is in, and we can see the 6 Akan and Kobias that came out from the HUP, and it's also sending their Kobias. I wonder if we're gonna see possibly the upgrade for the Fulani archers, but for now it looks like he doesn't have the wood for it, and he also actually needs a house pretty soon, or he will actually be housed. And he's not training a villager right now, and he can't actually because he needs another house. So he's doing the imported cannons tech, trying to get Falks out as soon as possible. Also, there comes the Akan, and I guess we will see probably him training even more accounts. And sending the 8 semi-fattened cattle plus 1 livestock market. So this is actually a quite eco-heavy card. It's quite greedy. Meanwhile, we can see the German player also aging up, sending the skirmishers, and he has quite a nice comp here with basically goons plus skirms, but with melee goons. And this is really nice because normally with goons, the problem is if your opponent walks in with heavy cavalry and just try to take your skirms in melee, you can't really do much about it with your goons. But because these are melee goons, they can just really nice do a really nice body block here and be a lot of a nuisance. But he doesn't have a lot of siege, so he doesn't really have an answer to the palace, and that's going to be a problem. And that's probably going to mean that he can't really push right now. He's going for this really nice town center here though, and I like this play because there's on this map there's a lot of hunts over here, and if you can take control of this part of the map, you usually do get the resource and win in the long run. But as of now, he doesn't really want to get stuck in. There's a lot of archers here, and he doesn't really have a good counter to these Fulani archers. So they're just doing pretty good work. He needs to get a seizable map of the skirmishers to actually be able to counter this. And he's now sending the Ulans, recognizing that there's actually a lot of Fulanis here. And now we can see the Fulani archers just got upgraded, if I'm not mistaken. And here we see EwoEwo training a falconet, which is really nice because he's gonna need that to take down these skirms. And I wonder if he's actually gonna lose the palace now. He might actually do that, but he'll probably get the cannon out. Yeah, they just won't be initially get the cannon out. This quite neat to be when you're up against Germany, because they don't have the 2 falconet shipment, so they don't really have that much siege, which means you usually have plenty of time to get that falconet. Now, I would have liked to see him send the 1000 influence instead of sending the 8 cattle, because at that point he would have been able to put out 3 falconets at this point, and it would probably been a lot stronger. He could probably push them, but he decided to go for the cattle, and this does give him quite a nice economical lead here with the trickles of influence and also the really nice livestock value. We can see him is also adding in some griots now. Now you always want to add some griots. They're just great for healing up your units between fights, and they can also be really good at taking down high value targets, like units with a lot of hit points or a lot of damage. Meanwhile, we can see Germany taking the map quite well, and it's starting to work around the map here. And if I were Germany, I would just send a few Ulans down here, trying to see if he can raid something, because I bet he's gonna find something. Yeah, there's the explorer. Just walking around here would be really neat, and I bet he would be actually be able to get a lot of villagers if he just went down here. But he's sticking his army together here, which is fine, I guess. But it does mean that he's giving EwoEwo some time to react to his comp. And here we can see sending the Yukonaba, and this card is quite nice because it's half a military shipment and half a economic shipment. So it's gonna give a quite a nice economic boost here with the 5 villagers, as well as adding a few more griots, which are always nice to have in the mix. Meanwhile, he's training some javelins. Fortunately, missing that batch here is really high on food and really low on gold at the moment, so just selling a cattle there would probably have been really nice just to get the full batch. But as of now, he really needs to get more people here on gold, and he also wants to have this herd under the granary. It's a bit unfortunate that it's not. But now he has 2 falconets, and Germany really needs to start to think about ways to deal with the falconets. Now, Germany has seen the falconets for quite far back now, and he should be able to react and add a culve or 2. But we're just seeing, for now, we're just seeing him add more skirmishers and more Ulans. And this might, of course, work if you manage to overwhelm your opponent, but it's quite difficult here to push in with the falconets and the fort, because he doesn't really have anything against it. And now we can see him trying to get stuck in there, but the griots are just really nice, reducing the fire rate here of the melee cav trying to take the cannons out, and it really makes the cannons survive a lot longer. And while the Berbers are quite nice here in melee with their high damage, they don't have, they are just light cavalry, so they do get countered by the archers, of course. And we can see this fight's actually looking quite good for Hausa, surprisingly. It looked like the German player had a lot more units, but Hausa is just pulling out ahead with those griots and using their cans and also playing here under this fort. So the Black Pearl is walking back with the skirmishers, and it does still survive with a seizable mass of skirms, which is nice. So I think he's in a pretty good spot still. If he just managed to keep control of the map, he could be in a really great position. Meanwhile, we see here EwoEwo is really running out of hunts. He really needs to think about where his next hunt is, and you can see him walking down here on this part of the map. And this map is quite scarce with hunts, so if you are the German player here, you have some Uhlans, you want to walk around with a few of these. Just walk around the map and try to look for where your opponent is hunted. He knows that EwoEwo is kind of trapped here in the base, so yeah, and now he does exactly that. He's walking around looking at this spine, and he really needs to get stuck in here. Just look around and try to find where the vills are. And I bet we're gonna see a few vills going down here, or maybe not. He decided to back out, which was probably a mistake, because he could have probably gotten a lot of units here. Meanwhile, EwoEwo is pushing here. He's added some Lafidi now, and he's trying to take out this trading post. It's kind of ballsy, considering the scores are so close and he can easily be caught off guard. Meanwhile, the German player is attacking, and this is looking really bad with all the vills here, but at the same time we have the javelin riders on the Uhlans here, and that's really not what you want. And we can also see the black riders here, which are pretty awesome units. These have just huge attack, 46 attack, 500 hit points, and yeah, they would just demolish the javelin riders because they're just so much more powerful. And as of now, I think it's still looking quite good for the German player, although I would like to probably get away from the fort and try to catch these units. But he's instead gonna walk out from the base here and take another fight later, I think. Meanwhile, we can see EwoEwo is gathering all the resources here. Now, a single raid here could do massive damage in this point of time, because he really has a lot of units here on the mine, a lot of units on this this food right here. Meanwhile, he still has the berries, but he doesn't want to gather from the berries because, well, of course, they gather even more slowly. Meanwhile, taking a look at the Black Pearl, he's just having the time of his life. He's having resources just all across the map. He has a herd here, he has a herd over there, he has a herd here, and yeah, he's not gonna run out anytime soon. And taking a look at his micro, he is still in H3, and it doesn't look like he wanna age anytime soon. He sent most of the unit shipments, but he has a few of these really strong mercenary shipments, and countering mercenaries can be quite tricky. Now, Germans like to go mercenaries, and one thing you can do as Hausa is of course build the Magadais. Now you build them in the palace, they're quite expensive, but they are just these huge like these really tanky musketeer units, and they only have a single multiplier, and that's against mercenaries. So they're quite an interesting unit, and they can definitely be really good at countering things like the Black Riders. But as I said, they're quite expensive, 200 influence each, so at this point of time EwoEwo would only be able to create 2 of them, so it wouldn't be that useful. And we can see here we're just producing units constantly, trying to keep the resource down, and he's trying to build that falconet mass. Now the German player knows that he has falconets out, so I'm curious why he doesn't just build a culverin or 2. He definitely has the resource, and he wants to engage now, but this not a great positioning of the Uhlans, and it looks like he's gonna lose most of the Uhlans before they even start the fight. And this is the trouble with using the Uhlans. They're just quite weak cavalry units, and now we see here EwoEwo getting the snare with the cavalry, and this is really the trouble of going with the skirm Uhlan. If you lose the Uhlans, it can really be caught off guard by heavy cavalry. And yeah, the Black Riders try to do the most they can, but now the army size is just switching into EwoEwo's favor, and we can see it's actually up 1k score, which is not a lot, but it's a bit. And we can see also the German player here, he has the resource to age, so I think we'll probably see an age up here. So it would probably be best for him to actually just wait there with engagement, and he still has the map. There wasn't any rush, and he's looking to age, so I wonder why he actually decided to do that attack, but he did. So he's aging up with the Tycoon. Now, if I'm not wrong, I think the Tycoon is the gold age up, and they probably want that gold to possibly train some more mercenaries or just to train some more skirms. Meanwhile, we can see EwoEwo pushing out here, and he actually has quite a nice mass here, putting out some more javelin riders to try to counter if there's any more Ulans, but he needs nothing to snare the skirms with, otherwise it could be really hard to get close to the skirms. But because Germany is moving in right now, we could actually get caught here, but no, it's actually looking quite fine. We can see here we have EwoEwo forgetting his grids. Now this is a bit unfortunate. These units are just really good. Make sure to get them into the fight. 260 HP, that's a lot of HP. And EwoEwo wants to take down the market and the houses, and that's gonna hurt Germany a lot. And Germany is aging, and his resource macro isn't that good, so it's gonna be hard for him to get the actual upgrades in once he ages up, because he just doesn't have the wood for it. And now we see the barracks going down, and it's looking quite bad actually. He needs to get down a really nice raid or to get some other lucky shot, I think, to really get out of this. Now he's just patrolling with his units, he's waiting for H-up, and he's sending the Bosniaks. So the Bosniaks are really nice, but they are still just H3 shipment. That's really unfortunate, the timing with the H-up here, and possibly, I wonder if it's gonna send it from this town center, or nope, there probably won't be enough time to do that. But I think there's just a lot of anti-cav here, so I wonder how much the Bosniaks actually will be able to do. Meanwhile, he's not actually pop capped yet, which is quite surprising, but he will be soon, and he doesn't actually have a barrack. So the units he have right now is pretty much the units he's gonna have, and we see the Dervish being added now, which are basically like short-range skirms, which will be quite nice in dealing with these skirmishers of the German player. And at this point, it's just looking really good for EwoEwo. He's done a lot of damage in the base now. Granted, Germany's eco is still quite untouched here, but the problem is he's lost a lot of infrastructure, and he needs to gather a lot of wood to rebuild all these houses. Now we can see the German players moving in, and will he get the Falks? Oh, EwoEwo really has to respond, or he will lose all the Falks, and this is not looking that great. And yeah, he's just losing all 4 Falconets for free. That was just really unfortunate. Now you really need to be ready for that attack there, because he knew that the TheBlackPearl was waiting for an attack. He hadn't found the army yet, so yeah, that's quite unfortunate. You can see the Bosniaks are great, but against the Griots, they're just quite bad, because the Griots can just stun them and really nullify those units here in the fighting. You see, with the slow fire rate, they don't really do a lot of damage, and it's just looking great for EwoEwo here. He managed to sustain unit production and get a huge mass here. It doesn't really matter that the TheBlackPearl is H4, because he doesn't have any units that are really H4 units, except of course the shadow taking units like the Black Rider, if I'm not mistaken. I think it shadow takes for Germany as well. And we can also see some raids here going out, trying to kill some villagers, and it's just a great here. Very well done by EwoEwo, and it's looking really bad for the TheBlackPearl at this moment. And I bet we'll see him resigning quite soon, actually. Just picking off those skirms, and you really want to have some melee cavalry here to just try to snare. You can actually use your explorer quite effectively for this. So in this type of situation, I just like putting the explorer in melee and just trying to snare and slow those units down. Meanwhile, we can see here the guard wing hussars are out. I wonder how he got those. Were those from shipment, or no? He actually trained them here in this mercenary saloon. And he's just trying to build up that mass to take these units down. There's actually quite a lot of bowmen and skirmishers, so the winged hussars is actually quite a nice call, being countered only by the Akans and the javelin riders. Meanwhile, we can see here some raiders trying to do some damage, and this is not what you want. Raiders up against camel riders. However, there's so many raiders so that it kind of works. And meanwhile, we see the huge fight breaking out here, and while this fight is decent for the Black Pearl, I think it's just a bit too little too late. It's lost too much, and at this point, yeah, the EwoEwo's mass is pretty huge, and yeah, we see the Black Riders going in here in melee, and yeah, it's just looking really good for EwoEwo. Meanwhile, we see a reinforcing batch here of 3 falconets, and that's really the power of having this palace here trickling resources, as well as the cattle that it got really early. And you can see the cattle just trickling in a lot of resources. All of the fully fattened cattle here yielding 0.5 influence a second, which is just a lot of influence. And that's the game. So that's how you can... So I guess that is how you can think about the matchup versus Germany. I think EwoEwo did a great job here, going to doing a bit of a fast fortress here, trying to get to fortress as quickly as possible, utilizing the Fulani archers, which is actually a really good counter to the Skirm Goon comp. So that's something to think about. If you're up against Germany, they do like to go with the Skirm Goon comp, and that means that archers are always a good bet because they do counter both skirms and goons, which is really quite nice. And also, he managed to get the falconets out, and the Germany player really need to add some coals to try to nullify the falconets, but he didn't, and I think that kind of lost him the game in a way. Also, the power of using the palace here, which is also really good at countering the Skirm Goon comp, since he doesn't have a lot of siege. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this cast of this game between EwoEwo and the Black Pearl. And if you want to see some other cast game, check out the other videos on my channel. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.